Welcome to Worth It or Worthless, a show where every couple weeks we pull a game from my own personal collection of retro games, take off our nostalgia-tinted glasses, and decide, is the game good by today's standards, and is it worth the price of admission? We talk about what the game does well, what the game doesn't do so well, and the things that are just plain weird. I'm your Stan, joined as always by my friend Jordan. Jordan, what did we get into today?
Today we played Castlevania for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Castlevania is the story of one man's quest to enjoy all the finest cuisines on Earth. There's just one problem. The evil Count Dracula has stolen all the pork chops in Transylvania and hidden them in the walls of his castle.
Okay. That's really?
Well, this is the thing. There's no story whatsoever in the game itself. There's a tiny bit of story in the manual. And, I kind of just had to put the pieces together myself.
Oh, okay. So him just walking up to the gate of Dracula's castle didn't do it for you.
It doesn't ever even say Dracula anywhere in the game. Even in the manual, it calls him the Count. He could literally just be the Count from Sesame Street.
I think in the Japanese version of this game, Dracula is in the title.
Yes, it's called Dracula's Demon Castle.
Something like that, yeah.
Or Dracula the Demon Castle.
I don't know, Dracula's Satanic Castle or something.
Well, that's what the Nintendo of America thought it was translated as, which is why they changed it, because they didn't want to have anything with Satan. And I'm not sure that Dracula's Demonic Castle would have been any more palatable, but who knows? Castlevania is a way cooler name, and I'm glad that they changed it.
Well, it's like Contra. It's a cooler name than whatever Probotector or whatever.
No, Probotector is way cooler. I mean, Contra's fine. I think it's the Spanish word for against.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's been over a decade since I took a Spanish class.
It's been over a decade since we covered that game.
I feel like that's not true.
It literally can't be true.
No.
We've only been a podcast for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
Good old Castlevania. So this game, Jordan, it's a little bit of fun. Konami.
Yes, yeah.
Developed and published by Konami.
I mean, generally just speaking, like, I'm coming into this without any knowledge of Castlevania. This is my very first time ever even seeing the game played. And
that's insane to me.
Yeah, I don't know how, because as I was looking up stuff for this, there's like 900 Castlevania games. But I don't know. Yeah, I figured it's Konami. It's got to be good, right?
Yeah. Well, the vast majority, I feel, this probably is not true, but this is how I feel. I feel like the vast majority of people who grew up with an NES, like, if they didn't have Castlevania, they were familiar. They knew somebody with Castlevania.
Well, like, obviously I've heard of Castlevania before.
I know, but I'm saying, like, most people played this game who played NES growing up. I feel like that's kind of like most people played Contra. Like most people did, right?
Yeah, we had Contra, but I don't know if like Castlevania was maybe a little bit too scary. We were little kids.
Yeah.
Like this would have given me nightmares probably as a kid.
Also doesn't have co-op, so maybe less likely.
Yeah, that's true. Pretty much all of our games, most of our games that we like bought, not the ones that were like hand-me-downs or garage sale picks, were like multiplayer because there was 4 of us.
Yeah. And another sort of thing that's similar to Contra to me about this one is like the NES version. There's a bunch of versions of this game, like an MSX version that's like it's like the same but not. Like there's more exploration and stuff.
Oh, you're talking about Vampire Killer?
Yeah, I'm talking about Vampire. Did you do your research, Jordan?
Oh, I read the Wikipedia page.
I'm impressed. Did we do the same research?
I read 2 Wikipedia pages.
Did you type Castlevania into Google and just click the first link?
As you do.
Oh,
I am an expert on Castlevania now. You throw out something, I'm gonna know exactly what you're talking about. I've gone from total like neophyte to absolute expert in the span of 24 hours.
Well done. Me too. But anyways, I feel like, and I didn't do a ton of like looking at the other versions of this, but it's like when you say Castlevania 1 or whatever, people probably are thinking of the NES version almost exclusively, right?
Or the first season of the Netflix show that seems to be wildly popular.
It's good. It's good. That's a good show.
I've heard that. It's kind of funny to me. I saw the first season had 4 episodes.
Yeah.
They really committed to making that show.
I think it was more than that.
No, it was 4. The second one had 8, and then the third one had 10. I don't know about the fourth final season, but they were just like, oh, people actually like this. We can make more than 4 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a gamble. It's kind of like it's almost like Nintendo isn't pouring enough resources into the Switch Online service because they're like, oh, people kind of like these retro. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is a huge thing. Like, pour more resources into this, Nintendo. Like, please, this is what we want. So the Castlevania series on Netflix. It's like, maybe people will like this. I think that. Did you ever see the like fan film? Like it was like a rated R Power Rangers fan film.
No, absolutely
There's
not.
some like YouTube thing where this like I forget the guy's name.
Oh. Yes, and it was like really violent.
Yes.
And he was like using it as a pitch to like try to make it a real thing.
I don't know if he was using it as a pitch, but I think he had something to do with the Castlevania series on Netflix.
Okay, now that you're saying this, like my brain is like uncovering something. I think
he's
you're
like
right.
A director or a producer or like a special effects guy in Hollywood with like some actual skills to like make something like this happen. And so I think that is why Castlevania ended up being like as good as it is because somebody who was really passionate about it was like involved in it. But
Adi Shankar?
That sounds, yes, that sounds like.
No, wait, that's.
No?
Wait, maybe? Power Rangers is an American superhero fan short film directed and co-written by Joseph Kahn and produced by Adi Shankar.
Yeah, I think that's the guy. I think he has something to do with the Netflix. How's your Google doing?
Oh, this is the guy. Yeah, this is the guy. You're so right. He's best known for Dread, Castlevania, and his bootleg universe.
Gotcha.
Which includes stuff like The Punisher, Venom, Power Rangers. Man, look at that. Just back there in the recesses of your brain creases, you pulled that one right out.
So if you ever think that worth it or worthless, we are just talking out of our rear ends. We usually are, but sometimes it's like it's in there.
There's a little kernel of truth.
Yes, there's something in there
hiding
where it's like,
deep in there.
You know, it's like, I think the NES version of Castlevania is the only, I think the other versions are bad. I don't know. I didn't, just take my word for it.
For me, the definitive Castlevania game has to be Castlevania for the N64.
I don't know anything about that game. Although
I just found out about it today.
I feel like a couple people on our Discord, like a month and a half ago, like I feel like 2 or 3 people were like, Castlevania 64, picked it up. And they were excited about it.
Yeah, but this is the thing about retro collectors. Every day somebody posts something like that, and it's the most random games.
Not on our Discord, not every day.
Yes, it did. Like somebody picked up yesterday, like, I don't know, something weird and obscure.
Okay. Yeah, that's very specific.
The McDonald's game.
No, nobody's picked that up. I would remember. Okay. I need to add that to my collection. We're fully in the weeds. We are off the beaten path.
Castlevania is a video game.
Supposedly.
Yeah. They made a bunch on NES, 3 on NES.
A bunch.
1 for Super Nintendo, 1 for Sega Genesis, and then a whole bunch of Game Boy.
I don't know if a whole bunch.
A PlayStation game that reinvented the genre.
Yeah, a genre.
Well, it didn't like it made it.
It reinvented a franchise.
It reinvented the franchise and helped found a genre.
It co-created a genre with Super Metroid.
Known as?
Metroid Castlevanias.
Metroidvanias. Which is very different from Hemorrhoidvania, which you don't want to play.
Okay. All right. I'll take your word for that. All right. I got some fun facts, Jordan. Can we talk about these fun facts?
Yeah.
Before we get farther out the weeds, Castlevania. This game originally Famicom Disk System, September 26th, 1986 is when it came out in Japan. We got this one in North America in May of 1987 on the NES.
All right.
And then the PAL region got it December of 1988. So like a year and a half after we did. And then there was another release on a Famicom cartridge in 1993.
Wow.
And that game actually had an easy mode built into it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, it is interesting. I was like, what is that about?
Now, the Japanese versions are included on the Konami Castlevania collection. I wonder if that has the easy mode on it. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah. I like that they do that.
Yeah.
I played a little bit, I played like one playthrough and didn't kill Dracula on the NES cart. And then I did like another playthrough on the Switch collection.
Yeah.
Konami collection. I like those collections. They have the Japanese version. You get Contra with the cutscenes if you want.
Yeah.
That collection also has Kid Dracula on it, which is a game we never got here.
There's a whole bunch of games on there.
And I think it's translated into English for the first time or something. There's some good stuff on these collections.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the Konami Contra and Castlevania collection, and they also have like an arcade collection with some shoot 'em ups.
Yeah, that was a little bit less iconic of a collection, it looked like. But
if you want to play Salamander.
Yeah, that's a throwback to way back when we covered Life Force, aka Salamander.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, to your point, yes, we should fire up the Japanese release of Castlevania and see if it's got that easy mode and see what's different about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it being in Japanese probably is still fully playable. I mean, there's like almost no text in the game.
That's true. There's almost no text in the game. So
it says score and player, and I think that's about it, other than maybe the credits.
You don't even get player, it's just P.
I think it says player.
Oh, maybe.
I think you're just wrong.
All right, could be.
As usual. Jordan, the director wanted the players to feel like they were in a classic horror film.
Yeah. Very cinematic feeling.
Mm-hmm. You got the bosses, you got Frankenstein, you got Grim Reaper.
Oh, the Mummy Man?
The Mummy Men.
That's what it's just Mummy Man in the
Well, why are there two?
In the manual, I don't know. The manual's got some weird translations. It calls Dracula the Count, the Mummy Man. It calls the thing that's obviously wall chicken, it calls it pork chops, which is why I mentioned that in the intro.
Yeah, I don't know that it's like, it looks like like a Flintstones like cartoon like piece of meat with bone hanging out of it or something, right? You know, it's like a caricature. I don't know that I've ever seen a piece of pork with a cartoon bone hanging out of it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Jordan, the release of Castlevania, I believe the NES version, coincided with the 90th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ooh.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I did hear that some of the later games in this series, like I think maybe the third one, like straight up ripped off some plot points from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I think that sounds familiar, yeah. It's interesting. I guess it makes sense. Because if you're gonna try to put somebody inside of like an old horror movie, instead of just using the character Dracula, it's like, well, let's bring in all of these other elements of classic vampire lore.
They have that in the credits too. Like they used like a bunch of the names in the credits are like people from old school horror films, but just changed a little bit. Like instead of Bela Lugosi, they had Bello Lugosi, and instead of Boris Karloff, it said Boris Karloffus.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I was reading was part of the reason that they didn't put names in the credits could have been because Konami didn't want people to hire their developers.
And there goes our trivia question for the day. Dan knew it.
I knew it.
Well,
can't stump me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll think of something else.
Maybe. We'll see.
Although I do wonder if that's true, because if you think about like the late 80s or whatever, like how would you know that like LinkedIn didn't exist? You couldn't just
you'd go and read the credits of a video game and be like, oh, Shigeru Miyamoto, I'll go look up that guy in the white pages and see if he'll take my money instead of somebody else's money.
Man.
So that's what I read. It said that the Konami used fake names to prevent other companies from stealing their employees.
But isn't there something else? I'm trying to think. Maybe it is Castlevania, but I feel like there was another game where this happened, where they were using like pseudonyms or something.
It was probably an industry practice for a while. It's like, well, why do we need to give these developers any credit?
Right. What are they good for?
They made a phenomenal, like the thing that is really interesting to me about that is that the composer for this game of the soundtrack, who made a phenomenal soundtrack, like you think that they would like want to give props to the fact that she as a woman like did this when it's like a majority men industry.
Right.
And then they call her like James Banana. They didn't even bother giving her a female name to like acknowledge the fact that she made this incredible soundtrack. But it's like, no, you're going to be a dude's name. It's like, oh, okay.
It's very weird. Now, Jordan, Simon Belmont, like that's a fine name. It's all right.
Oh, you mean Simon Belmondo?
Well, that's what they called him in the credits, right?
Yeah.
Originally, Simon Belmont was going to be called Peter Dante, He was the grandson of Christopher Dante. Now, does Peter Dante have the same ring to it as Simon Belmont, which sounds more like because I saw Peter Dante and I was like, I don't know.
Well, okay, so if you know your Bible, Simon, Peter, so they just took his.
I was thinking Dante's Inferno.
Yeah. But you're going with the first name. I'm just going with the first names. Simon.
Okay.
And he becomes Peter.
And
his dad. You said his dad's name was Christopher.
His grandfather.
His grandfather was Christopher. A little bit on the nose. Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
So you could tell they were they were fishing in that well.
Okay.
I kind of like Simon Belmont. It's a little bit less on the nose.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Peter Dante.
Yeah, Peter Dante just doesn't have the same, I don't know. He doesn't sound, but then again,
maybe
Simon
it would
Belmont,
have been iconic, but it doesn't feel that way because they changed the name.
Yeah.
Another weird thing, his name is not in the manual. His name is not in the game, I don't think. How do we even know that his name is Simon Belmont?
That's a good question. That sounds like a trivia question.
Yeah, I didn't find anything. Maybe in the Japanese manual they have more stuff. We just got the English translation that has lots of weird stuff going on.
Yeah. Jordan, other items were planned for the game originally, like garlic, wooden stakes, and items that transformed the player into a werewolf.
I did see that. That would have been interesting, but also would have changed the game a lot.
Yeah.
The werewolf part, not so much the garlic and wooden stakes.
Well, I'm not super familiar with Castlevania 3, but I believe you can turn into a bat in that game.
A bat?
Fly.
Oh,
I think you can play as Alucard, and I think he turns into a bat.
Oh.
So I think, Alucard, son of Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula spelled backwards.
You gotta love that.
It's his son.
Which apparently they also took from an old-timey horror movie.
Yes. They took it from somewhere. They were taking stuff from books. They were taking stuff from movies. They were just like, let's make a thing that's like a bunch of things. And then it becomes people's idea of something.
Yep. It's like the old saying goes, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
That is an old saying.
It is.
Jordan, that's all my fun facts.
All right. That's a lot of fun facts, but I
is.
think it's appropriate because it is a series with a lot of history. And so if you're like me and you haven't ever experienced that history, now you have a little bit of knowledge. And if you're like Dan and you are a Castlevania master, well, now you've just had a nice little refresher course.
Easy there.
All right.
I think so. I streamed this game, my playthrough,
Good point.
There are a lot of people out there know that I am not a Castlevania
That's true.
master.
There's video evidence of your lack of mastery.
Although, in short order, I will be a Castlevania master.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with this one until I can beat it without dying.
That sounds like an admirable goal.
Yep. We'll see. All right, let's get into what the game did well.
Let's. So we've touched on this a little bit already, but I think that it has to be said that a big part of what makes this game so great is the ambience, both the music and the design. I did read that they purposely wanted to make the game feel very cinematic, and I think that they did a good job of that. Not so much with like cutscenes or anything, but just you have this spooky backgrounds and you have the spooky music, and everything really pushes the theme along nicely. Nothing feels too cheesy or overdone. It doesn't like take itself way too seriously. I think it's just a very good mix of everything.
Yeah, I also have the world and the vibe written down.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's very much this like, okay, we're throwing all of these elements into these like, these classic horror movie things, but it doesn't feel out of place for the most part. It's almost like, it is a little bit, goofy that Frankenstein and the mummies are here, but at the same time, they don't necessarily feel like they detract. It's almost just like an all-star horror thing. It's like a best of horror inside of a video game, and they somehow make it work.
It's kind of like what they tried to do in Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but in that game, it feels very like forced and on the nose, which is fine because that game is like supposed to be kind of over the top. But in this game, it's a little bit more subdued and everything. Like, you don't like question like, why are these things here? Because it just seems to fit.
Yeah, yeah. But the levels and everything like that, I think that they all kind of feel like, yeah, you're traveling through this weird castle place thing, and it kind of is like this rundown environment. And I think it suits the what they were going for pretty well.
I do have to question why Simon decided to go to the spooky castle at night instead of, during the day. But, you do you.
Vampires, Simon. Jordan. Do you know how vampires work?
Yeah, you go during the day when they're sleeping, and then you don't have to fight them. You just kill them.
Well,
open up the shades. Boom, they're done.
Okay. I mean, sure, if you want to oversimplify things.
Take one of your little bomb things, blow a hole in the wall. Boom, he's gone.
Yeah, I feel like I read Dracula a long time ago, but the for some reason daytime wasn't really like a big thing where we're like, let's go get Dracula.
They didn't have daytime back then.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have made a lot of progress since then. So just thinking, if it was me, I'd go to the spooky castle during the daytime. Yeah.
You also mentioned the music, Jordan. I have a specific point about the music.
Make it.
So good.
It's
so good. The music, surprise, surprise, Konami.
Yeah.
Making a good NES soundtrack.
As they do.
Even
like, not even just the music, but even the sound effects are good. Like everything, I was just like, man, they really had great sound design. They really had great soundtrack. You just start into the game and you have that iconic theme song and you're like, oh my goodness, just nailed it out of the park.
Yeah, and this is a silly thing, but it hit me right in the nostalgia feels. The pause sound.
Yeah,
it's just such
the sound effects are good.
It's such a classic Konami pause sound. I was just like, oh man. So when we got into this game, I was just like, oh, this game sounds great. I like it a lot. I was talking with a few people on stream, including you, trying to like rank like NES soundtrack, like what companies had the soundtracks that were the best on the NES. And for me personally, I was like, is it Nintendo? Is it Konami? And then I think I settled on Nintendo, Konami, Capcom as my top 3 NES soundtracks.
Yeah.
And I think you said Konami better than Nintendo.
This is the thing. I think like as a purely songwriting thing, like I go with Konami.
Yeah.
But Nintendo definitely has the more iconic, memorable melodies.
Yes.
So Nintendo is a little bit more simplistic, but more memorable, which is not a bad thing. Like that's people always like give pop music a hard time, but like if you can write something that's that catchy, that takes a lot of skill. So like I give Nintendo the catchiness side of things.
Okay.
But you listen to Konami and they just have so many layers of things going on, and there's like a lot more depth and
a lot more shreddy.
Like, cool, it's a different style.
Yeah.
So they're both great. It just depends on what you're looking for.
But yeah, Castlevania soundtrack, iconic, good.
Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. My second thing that really stood out to me and what this game does well is that it is difficult. Don't get me wrong. This game is difficult, but I appreciate that it's beatable. So many NES games are difficult and not beatable. In this game, like me, if you've listened to our podcast, you know that I suck at platformers. I'm actually just bad at NES games in general, pretty much. But this game has a very generous continue and checkpoint system. You never will run out of lives. You can keep trying over and over.
Yeah.
It's pretty generous on the checkpoints, on where it brings you back to life, where it gives you enough of the level to gather enough resources to like make an attempt.
Yeah.
But it doesn't put you so far back that you're playing the entire level or section of the game again. And also, like, I felt like you, where when I first started playing the game, it was hard and I sucked. But as you start to learn the patterns of the enemies and learning like the tricks to each boss, it becomes way more manageable.
Yeah. I also have the continue system as something that this game does well. And I think the way that the game is broken down is it's 6 levels of 3 stages per level.
Yeah.
And so when you die, you go back to the beginning of a level, or when you lose all your lives, you go back to the beginning of a level. When you die, you go back to the beginning of a stage.
Yeah, which is
a weird thing, but and then unlimited continues, which is fantastic and much needed in this game, because it's if you are not familiar with Castlevania and you're like, I'm gonna go check that game out.
Yeah,
it sounds like a cool game. It's gonna be a rough go.
At first.
Yeah.
It's not a pick up and play and you're amazing at it right off the bat. Although they do a good job where the first level is like doable. You're not going to get thrown way too many curves in the first level. So, and I do appreciate the fact that when you have to continue, it takes you all the way back to the beginning of the level, because sometimes you realize like, I do need to play more than just a stage to gather enough hearts or whatever. Like I'm not being able to figure out what the trick is against this boss. So I need to just gather more resources. So being able to have the option of, when I lose a life, I go back to a stage, and when I lose my continue, I go all the way back to the beginning of the level, which the levels aren't that long anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like, demoralizing to have to do that. I kind of like that.
You know what the trick is for the boss, Jordan?
Tell me.
Holy water.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact that the holy water, or as the manual calls it, what is it called? It calls it something different than the manual. It calls it firebomb.
Does it really?
It does.
What?
I think, again, just the thing by Nintendo where they didn't want to like have anything like overtly religious.
I think that was actually Konami of America. I read it wasn't Nintendo.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Konami of America. Even like the thing that's very obviously a rosary, they just call it a cross.
Yeah.
But yeah, firebomb. The firebombs like stun lock characters, and you can if you get a whole bunch of hearts, each heart. We should probably mention that the hearts in this game do not give you health; they give you ammunition for your sub weapons, which is a little bit strange. But
it's like the Captain Planet, the guy with the heart ring. It's you have heart.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So if you have enough,
it gives you more hearts and confidence.
Yeah, that's because your firebombs are totally dependent on your confidence. If you don't have confidence, a firebomb will not work. But if you have a whole bunch of hearts and you're just constantly chucking firebombs, you can stun lock the bosses and just completely kill them without ever having to fight them.
You can stun lock everything.
Yeah, that's true, everything. But you don't really want to waste them on the little regular monsters.
But if you're getting every candle, then you have more than enough hearts for everything.
This is just a hilarious system. If you get every candle, then you will have hearts. There's also points, but you don't care about points. And sometimes there's chicken in the wall.
I think it might have been the Wikipedia, or it might have been like, I don't remember exactly where I read it, but somebody was talking about you get hearts by extinguishing the candles. And it's like, what? You hit it with a whip. What do you mean you extinguish the candle? It's a very soft way.
I'm saying destroy the candles. Again, just another strange choice. You're in a creepy castle in the middle of the night, and you're putting out the candles?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Interesting. Brave? Okay. Stupid? I don't know. One of those two.
So the areas are you got to have some like chandeliers or something lighting this place. So maybe
there's
the candles
some candelabras up in the ceiling.
Maybe you just can't see them. I don't know.
It doesn't get darker when you put out the candles, so I guess you're right.
No, yeah. They probably didn't have the lighting technology to really affect the sprites differently.
In 1987.
Oh, goodness. Jordan, not just the holy water. Like I specifically have like the weapons, specifically the holy water, but the weapons as a whole, I like them in this game. Now the holy water is broken and it's the one that you want most of the time.
Yeah.
But like the cross that works like a boomerang, you've got a stopwatch that freezes everything if you're having a hard time getting through a section.
Which inexplicably uses 5 hearts to do instead of just 1.
Well, if it was just 1, it would probably be completely broken.
Yeah,
so 5 makes
because the fire bombs aren't completely broken.
I don't know, man. You got axes you can throw in an arc. You got daggers or swords that you can throw in a straight line.
Yep.
There's a good variety of weapons here.
Yeah.
And I like that it gives this game enough. Like if you die, you lose your weapon. So it's like you want the holy water, but if you end up dead, you're not necessarily going to have it unless you're cheating and loading save states like some people may have done. The weapons add a good variety to the gameplay here.
Yes, you also always have your whip, which you can upgrade into a morning star.
Yeah.
And then you can upgrade it again to have it be a longer morning star.
Yeah. A longer vampire killer.
Yes, the whip is called Vampire Killer, Vampire Slayer, something like that.
So I think it's Vampire Killer. Yeah.
Also known as Buffy in some circles.
Yeah, you could say. Also known as an MSX game in some circles.
That's true. They just took the name of the whip and used that as the title for the MSX game.
Yeah.
Which I honestly don't know what an MSX is. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild. I'm not even sure that it exists.
I think the only other thing that I know about the MSX is the original version of Metal Gear, I think, is better on it than the NES version.
That sounds familiar. Also, there was a Japanese game show called MSX where you had to try to run through doors and you would hurt yourself. Oh, that was... MXC.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Get things confused.
Speaking of Metal Gear, I got hit with something weird. Apparently, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, which was like a reboot of Castlevania on like PS3, 360.
Okay.
Apparently, Hideo Kojima Productions had something to do with that game. And I was like, that makes me want to play it a little more. The guy from Metal Gear worked on Castlevania. That makes me more intrigued.
See?
Although I'm not a big, admittedly, Kojima fan, like some people are, I'm just like, oh, that's cool because I like Metal Gear. So I'm like, no, I'll check this out.
See, there is some value in knowing who made the games because some people are better at it than others.
Or whenever Kojima works on anything, he has to have his name on it like 78 times.
Maybe that comes from the fact that they didn't let them put their names on games when he was first getting into the industry.
That's funny. I think whenever we get to Metal Gear on this show, that you will notice how funny it is. Like the opening credits of a Metal Gear game, how it's like written by Kojima. I can't talk. Produced by Kojima. Executive producer Kojima. Like it's characters by Kojima. It's like he put his name in there a whole bunch of times in a really funny way.
And we thought that it was a little bit over the top that the soundtrack composer for Streets of Rage had to put his name right on the menu screen.
Maybe there's something to that. Maybe it was just the state of the industry at the time where they really had to fight to put their name out there.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was like, I need to figure out a way to get out to nightclubs to DJ this soundtrack, so people need to know my name so that they will come to the club to listen to my soundtrack.
For a second, I thought you were saying that Kojima was going to do some DJing.
Goodness.
That would be interesting.
Anyways, another thing I have, Jordan, you kind of mentioned it. The secrets. Wall chicken.
Yeah.
So.
AKA pork chops.
Yeah.
AKA wall chops.
Yeah, this game is hard, but there's you got some secret wall chicken. I think once per level, maybe. Come to find out, I was like hitting every wall, and I was like finding new secrets.
Yeah, once I watched you do that, then I started doing that, and then the game got a little bit easier. Yeah. It's like, oh, there's actual there is health in this game.
Yeah, so the wall chicken is cool because it gives you 6 bars of health, which at certain. So the way that I was watching, I watched a guide on like Castlevania walkthrough because I was like, I got to Dracula, got insanely frustrated.
Yeah.
And was like, just let me go on YouTube and figure this out. I'll post the link in the video description or whatever. It's whatever, podcast description. But he was like showing me some new secrets in the video. And I was like, ooh. And he also told me that the first section of the game does 2 damage. Everything does 2 damage.
Oh, okay.
The middle of the game, everything does 3 damage. The end of the game, everything does 4 damage.
Everything.
So from Dracula to the little like eagle flying things to the
They're actually just called eagles.
Oh, okay.
There's ravens and eagles.
Okay.
We needed 2 generic bird enemies that both do the same amount of damage and fly the same way.
So the wall chicken becomes less useful at the end of the game. Gives you 6 hearts or 6. Not 6 hearts.
No. 6 bars?
6 bars of health back. There's also...
That's not confusing at all.
Right. There's also weapon upgrades to the number 2, the number 3, which allow you to throw more weapons at the same time.
Yes, you can throw 3 fire bombs instead of waiting for the first one to despawn.
Yeah. And then there's like some hidden point items, which I guess points are just good for giving you extra lives.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. You do get extra lives at certain points with the points.
Although in that video, I found out there's one place in the game where you can get a 1-up.
Oh.
And it's like weird. You got to like walk into the wall for a few seconds. Or like some places you have to duck and it'll like spawn like a little thing out of the ground.
1-ups are a lot less compelling in this game because you have infinite continues.
Infinite continues, but a 1-up is useful if you don't want to play through the beginning of a level again.
That's true.
If
you're playing on the NES version instead of playing on one of the retro collections, because those have save states.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But overall the secrets I think are a nice. I'm glad they're here.
Yeah.
They very much make a game that it's just another layer that I think takes this game to another level of like, oh, there are secrets in it, and that makes the game more enjoyable.
That actually ties into my final point, which is that it leaves me wanting more. Like, I know that there's stuff in here that I haven't found yet, but also I tried out a little bit of Castlevania 2 and 3, and I was like, man, I want to play more Castlevania after playing this game. 2 looked very different, and I need more time to like figure out what was going on there. But 3 seems like a more updated, polished, better later in the console cycle version of 1, and I'm really interested to like play more of these games in the future for the podcast. So this game left me wanting more, and that's a good thing. I also might check out that Netflix series. Yeah, because now I know what a Castlevania is.
Yeah, we this episode was almost Castlevania 2.
Yeah.
And then because I don't know, it was just what I wanted to do. It's what I had in the collection already, and I had to buy a copy of Castlevania.
Well, see, this is the thing. I had never played or seen a Castlevania, so I was like, I thought we were going to do the same thing where we played Streets of Rage 3
and that's exactly where I was going for it. Why I was like, well, what do you want to play? Because now I have both, And then you were like, I just for the sake of it not being a Streets of Rage 3 thing again, where you don't know what the series is because we started too late. We were like, all right, for Jordan's sake, we'll start with Castlevania 1.
I'm glad we did because it's a really good intro to the series.
Yeah, I'm glad we did too.
No, we played 1.
Yes, as well.
Gotcha.
As well.
Also
2 as well. Jordan, that's all I have for what the game did well.
Same.
Yeah, it's to put a bow on it. Please
say what I think you're gonna say.
Probably. What do you think I'm gonna say? Because it's probably
a 5-letter word.
Solid. No.
Okay.
Although maybe it is a solid game. This game, before we get into what the game doesn't do so well, there's something fun about it.
Yes.
And I overall I like it. I do have nostalgia for it, but this is still a game that, for its flaws, holds up and is fun. It's not an unplayable old school NES game.
I agree.
So, all right, let's move on to what the game doesn't do so well.
All right, Dan, I think my first point comes nicely out of your last statement there, and that is that this game has some quirks that make the game feel dated. This does not really feel like a timeless game. When you play this, you're definitely getting a product of 1987.
Yeah.
Some things like the stairs. The way that you use the stairs in this game is mind-blowing. You have to be holding up if you're trying to go up the stairs, or down if you're trying to go down the stairs, or you'll just fall right through them and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I know.
Who came up with that?
Yeah.
I've never seen that ever in another video game.
I feel like the stairs in this game led to a lot of me. Like So I was getting back into Castlevania, getting acclimated to the game on stream this week. And I was raging most of the time.
It wasn't that bad. You weren't raging.
You weren't inside my head.
Okay, all right.
I was fair. I was like just so frustrated, and a lot of it had to do with the stairs of like, okay, there's some of the ways that enemies will attack you, or some of the ways that enemies are set up at the bottoms of staircases or whatever, top staircases. Like maybe you want to attack on the stairs, and it's not always super easy to attack.
You have to stop.
You got to stop to whip, right? Or like sometimes if you want to try to whip quickly right when you get on the top of the stairs, you'll stay on the stairs and you'll throw an ability or whatever, or like
your secondary weapon.
Sometimes it's just not that like conducive to doing what you want it to do.
No, the stairs are real bad.
And that to me, I have the stairs written down as something the game didn't do well, but for me, and this may or may not be, people may or may not agree with this.
Okay.
Controls, I don't think, are something that the game does particularly well.
They're not even close to being the worst controls that we've had.
No, and that's not what I'm saying.
They're not great.
Yes, but the comparison that was in my head, because I'm fresh off of playing through Mega Man 6 a bunch of times.
Okay.
So hard NES platformer.
Yeah.
I'm like, in Mega Man, it's a hard game, but I always feel like I'm in control of my character.
Yeah.
I'm in control of my jumps. I can move in the air. I can largely there's a lot of cheap enemy setups in Mega Man, but like I feel like Mega Man is way less like frustrating. Like, oh, I got knocked back off of a pit down through some stairs. And I feel like Castlevania lacks some of that tight controls where I feel like I'm always in control of my character or it's doing exactly what I want. You can't move in the air in this game.
Yeah.
When you jump, you're committed to jumping. And fine, it's a particular game design choice. But I don't know if it's a very fun game design choice that I can't maneuver my character even a little bit, slow down the momentum, have more precision on my jumps. You're getting knocked back every single time you take damage if you're not on stairs.
It's a lot of knockback too. Not a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of the times you're getting knocked back into a pit. Surprise, surprise. Or like some of the times if you're trying to do... It's particularly frustrating, like the jumping / controls, like if you're trying to get onto a moving platform. If you hit the edge of the platform, like, you know, if you got like a toe, like if you land like 3 pixels onto the platform, it won't give you credit for landing on the platform. Oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
And that it just leads to like some frustration overall. Like another one of the things that I have is when I was fighting Dracula, there were certain times where my hits wouldn't register, or when I was trying to hit Dracula in the head, I would hit A and B at the same time, and he wouldn't whip in the air. And it's like, if you hit the A and B button, I think at the exact same time, it doesn't like register that you attacked. It's just jump. So you have to kind of like do like an A-B thing instead of hitting them at the exact same time. And it's just like a lot of the times in this game, I felt like some of the frustration came from the controls that just stacked onto already difficult traps and level design.
Yep, totally agree. There's just a few things in here that make it feel kind of dated and make it feel a little bit clunky. It's by no means is it like an insurmountable thing, but it's noticeable.
And kind of piggybacking on that, Jordan, I have a point that's just like, this is a stereotypical NES hard game. Like when people say NES hard, it's like Castlevania is the perfect example of a game that is old school hard. There's like a lot of gotchas, a lot of just like enemy placement that's going to be kind of screwing you over.
Yeah.
It's almost just like one of those games where it is beatable, but it's like, man, it takes a lot to get through this one if you've never practiced at it. I mean, I don't think I ever probably beat the 3rd level as a kid. So like now it's like, yeah, I can brute force my way through it, but a lot of the times I'm like, I'm 30% into the level and I'm already like 1 hit away from dying, or like, you know, when everything's doing 4 damage or something. It's like, oh my goodness, this is annoying. And then now I'm dead and I gotta hit all these candles and get a new weapon and get my whip upgraded again. And
yes. Very much a first world problem.
Yeah.
Hey, when I gotta upgrade my whip, I gotta extinguish a bunch of candles again.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a little bit obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, like we beat this game. You were like, you were like, I finished my 2nd playthrough. I haven't beaten Dracula yet. And I'm like, it sounds like you haven't even beaten your 1st playthrough, Jordan.
So I went back and I figured out the trick. Like I said, once you figure out the trick, it's not a big deal. You just have to have a lot of the fire bombs, aka holy water, to freeze the dude. And then even once I ran out of him, I was still able to beat him by just getting a few headshots.
Well, they give you like 12. Like it's like sometimes money bags drop out of those last candles at Dracula.
Yeah,
and I think it has to do with either like the frames or the number of seconds on the clock that alter the drops a little bit or something. Something weird. And so, but that's enough. If you die right before Dracula, you're starting at the bottom of the stairs. They give you a cross and like you end up with like 10 to 13 hearts, and there's holy water as well.
Yeah.
And that is enough to finish the last boss fight. It is, but you will have a hard time. That's how I beat it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
First try.
No chance. All right. Speaking of all this, I have in here that the difficulty curve feels steep, and that was without knowing what you told us about the 2, then 3, then 4 damage.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that every single thing does 4 damage in the end is a little bit wild.
Yeah.
Like maybe don't do that.
Yeah. And not only does it do 4 damage, but when you beat this game, it throws you back to the beginning. and you're not on stage 18 anymore. You start the game on stage 19. So
yeah.
everything continues to do 4 damage. And now, the first level that was easy, we're putting bats everywhere that are like flying across the screen. It's like a much harder. I didn't get too far into it.
No, me neither.
But it was like, man, this is rough. If I wanted to play this game on hard, and now I'm like, I wonder if it loops a third time and just keeps going. If you're like level, we're going to start on level 37 and then go from there, and everything does 8 damage or something horrible. I wonder. I didn't do enough research to check it out, but
no, I would hope not. Maybe if you're just a glutton for punishment, just endless loops of Castlevania.
No damage run, you just gotta, everything kills you in one hit at some point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds like an NES game.
Yeah.
Everything kills you in one hit. So at least you have a health bar, even if your hearts don't add to your health bar. What else you got, Dan?
The last thing I have is the bosses.
Hey, that's the last thing I have too.
Now the holy water breaks pretty much every boss fight, but
yeah, if you can get it. I think there might be some levels where you can't get the holy water.
I think it's in every level.
Okay.
I think according to that walkthrough that I was watching, I think there is holy water in every level.
All right. I definitely fought at least 2 or 3 bosses that I didn't have it. And like the first one, the bat, I just used the axes.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Totally easy kill. When I fought the mummies, I didn't have it. And even with the dagger, which I think is the worst sub-weapon, that was still a pretty easy fight. Like, I like that the bosses are cool. They're all very different, but we don't really get to experience them fully because it's so tempting to just, like, firebomb them.
Yeah.
And since you can just spam the holy water over and over and over, I think that they, like, realized that was a thing, and so they made the last, like, 3 bosses ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
Which makes you just want to spam them even more. Mm-hmm. So, like, the last 3 bosses, you have the Frankenstein and his little hunchback dude, Igor. You have, like, the Grim Reaper, who throws out 1,000,000 flying scythe things.
It's 4.
It's too many. You cannot dodge them.
You can hit them with your whip, though.
You have phase 1.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can. You have phase 1 and 2 of Dracula, who you actually have to, like, you can't just spam the holy water on the first phase. You have to wait to the second phase to spam the holy water. But I never even bothered trying to fight Frankenstein or the Grim Reaper the right way.
Yeah.
If there is a right way, because I was just like, I'll just firebomb them 10 times and then game's over.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of having hearts at the end of the game, Dracula shoots fireballs. You can actually, I think, farm some of his fireballs to get stuff, I think.
Yeah, you can, but at a certain point, they stop dropping. I think once you have like 15 hearts, because you can chuck a firebomb or holy water and take out all 3 of his fireballs, and then sometimes it'll drop 3 hearts, and then eventually they just stop dropping hearts.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't try it.
Well, that was my strategy against him, is I would throw the firebomb, which would wipe out his 3 fireballs, and then I could whip him in the head, and you got to do that like 20 times.
That sounds like a mess. You should have just done it the real way.
I had like 35 hearts. I used 15 or 20 of them. I think I used about 20 of them to kill Dracula phase 1, and then in Dracula phase 2 I only had 15 firebombs left, which got him down to like 4 bars remaining, and so then I had to get 4 headshots with the whip. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you did that very differently, and it sounds like it was way harder for you than it was for me.
It was fine. I did it. It just took me a lot of tries.
I mean, it took me a lot of tries, but I didn't use any abilities on Dracula phase 1.
You were just jumping over the fireballs and whipping him in the head. But like, it's such, you have like 1 frame to to jump over the fireball and hit him in the head. So I ended up.
It's not 1 frame.
It's very short.
It's just, and sometimes it doesn't register, which was like extra infuriating in an already infuriating boss fight, where it's like, okay, well now you're not even giving me the damage that I'm doing. The whip is literally touching his head right now. He's on the screen. He's solid. Saying. The whip is touching his head.
He's only, vincible for a few frames.
You can get 2 hits on him if you're in the right position at the right time. Like when he first spawns, you can jump and hit him in the head before he shoots fireballs, and then you can jump and do it again. So if you're perfectly positioned, you can do 2 damage on Dracula around that way. But
anyway,
overall,
bosses aren't great.
Yeah, the bosses to me, while they're not like anything that's unbeatable, but I just didn't have fun with the boss fights.
No, me neither. They could have been good.
Yeah.
It was just a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's just, they feel chaotic, and they feel like I kind of don't know what this is doing. good thing the holy water exists the way that it does, so I can just unlock this boss and be done with it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I like the characters that they chose. Like, that's cool, but I didn't like their behavior.
One other thing about the bosses that is another bad thing is the fact that the holy water is so strong against the bosses made me not want to pick up any of the other secondary weapons, which made me miss out on some cool stuff. Like, I'm sure there's lots of cool stuff you can do in the game with the axes and the stopwatch thing, but I always didn't want to pick them up, and I would just let them disappear because I was like, no, I don't want to lose my OP weapon.
Yeah, this game pushed me to a point where I was just completely spamming save states all the time. I get knocked into a pit. Nope, I'm just loading the save state. Every time I got to a new stage of the level, I was like, save, and then if I lose holy water, I'm just reloading.
Which really just turns this game into a modern indie game. Like you think about a game like Celeste, where you die on a screen, you come back to life on that screen. So all you're doing is modernizing a game that could use a little bit of modernization.
It's true. It's true.
I do like that the collection doesn't have rewind. Yeah. Because I think save states are one thing, and I use them a little bit more responsibly. Whereas with rewind, rewind is just too tempting. To go back and redo 2 seconds of a thing instead of learning the patterns and learning all of the different stuff. So I like that they have save states, but I also like that they don't have rewind. Same reason why I like the Retron. You have save states if you need them, but you don't have rewind.
You have fast forward though.
What is that?
Fast forward?
Oh, just to play in super speed?
You want to play Castlevania 10x speed.
Oh yeah, because there you go. That's one way to make it a lot harder.
I think part of me, that's why, I mentioned, I'm going to beat Castlevania without dying. I think that's part of the appeal about doing something like that to me is I'm going to learn the game. I'm going to force myself to not abuse something like save states. I'm going to practice it. I'm going to get good at it. I'm going to actually master the game. And I think maybe that's the reason why I think that is, I think that doing that is something that makes me appreciate retro games a little bit more.
Yep, I agree. So,
I am all out of things that the game doesn't do so well, Jordan.
Me too.
All right, let's move on to the rest of our show.
Okay.
So, what would you pay for the experience that you had with Castlevania?
Again, this is another one of those tricky ones because I bought the collection with a whole bunch of games and I got it on sale for $6 or $5 or something. Yeah. And I had some gold points, so I think it ended up being $4.93.
Oh.
So, that definitely does make it harder. I'm going to put that aside because I feel like that this isn't a game that I feel like I would come back to a ton because there's so many other Castlevania games that I'm interested in checking out. And as a person who's not a collector, I don't, why would I go back and play 1 when 3 looks like the same gameplay but better?
Yeah.
So, but there's a caveat. The cartridge and the art looks really cool.
Yeah.
So it's a cool game that I wouldn't mind playing, and the cartridge looks cool. I could see myself paying $6 for this.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which you might be saying that's not very much. I paid $5 for 10 games or something. Yeah. And I'm saying this one alone, I would pay $6. So get off my back, people.
As I'm tuning into my gut here, thinking, what would I pay for? How do I feel about this? There's a lot of frustration. Although yesterday when I was playing it a second time, I was like, oh, okay. Now that I'm acclimated, I've slept on, I played Castlevania, had a bad time with it, slept on it, integrated some of the things into my brain. My brain finally filed away the Castlevania stuff.
Okay.
So I was replaying levels and I'm like, okay, yeah, this isn't as enraging as it was yesterday when I was like acclimating to it. But then I got to Dracula and I was still just like so over it when I beat him.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting here going, how do I feel about Castlevania? Like I said, it's a fun game.
Yeah.
I do have some nostalgia for it. I think a lot of retro gamers do. $12 is kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I feel very conflicted because of how frustrating the game was. But as I explore it further and like come to grips with a lot of its quirks,
yeah,
I feel like it's less frustrating. So I feel like that's a fair, like more long-term price of playing Castlevania.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable. I played through this game 2 times and I'm still not like burnt out on it. Like I could go back and play it again.
Yeah.
And it's a short game, which means that like if you need to play it through 2 or 3 times to get the hang of it, and like you can. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that's totally unreasonable.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think the internet is paying on this one, Jordan? What's PriceCharting got this one at?
I feel like, I don't know if it like has definitely gotten like a boost in popularity because the Netflix thing, like I've seen people wearing Castlevania t-shirts and stuff, which I can't say I've ever seen any other time in my life. So I'm going to guess that this is a little bit more, but I don't know if like having them in the collections reduces the value of the physical games or does that increase it? I have no idea.
I think it depends. Like sometimes I don't know if one affects the other really.
No. Okay. I feel like it's different kind of people. I'm a digital collections kind of person and I'm not a collector. So you're probably right. There are people who need to have every version of something though and have multiple things. So
that's
like
true.
You who have the digital collection and the physical one. I'm going to say that people are paying $24 for this.
Okay. If we would have done this podcast a while ago, you've been right.
Oh no.
But you're not right anymore.
Okay.
Now, Jordan, I'll give you a second guess. 2021 prices.
Oh, okay. So everything has doubled in the last year. I'm going to say $48.
It's not that bad.
Okay, that's good.
Not for the North American version. No, Jordan. Internet's paying about $31 currently as we're recording this one.
Like, it's not insane.
No, it's not insane. But
it's still half of a modern AAA game.
I feel like about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Castlevania was sitting in the mid-20s, and now it's in the lower 30s. So I think it's common enough that it's not insanely priced.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like, if you're compiling a list of NES games you should probably play for somebody, you got a friend who's like, what NES games would you recommend? You're probably going to put Castlevania on there.
I think I saw in 2006 Nintendo Power or somebody ranked it as the 23rd best NES game.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's up there.
It probably is up there for sure. Because NES has a lot of bad games on it.
That's true. There's a lot of good games too, though.
Well,
we've covered a few of them.
Not nearly as many.
No, yeah. I mean, that's fair. There's always more of the bad stuff than the good stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It is. Unless it's the Virtual Boy, where everything is good.
Oh, that's why it did so well. I forgot about its great success.
Goodness. $31. What do you think the PAL tax is on this one, Jordan?
62.
62? No, it's not that bad.
I'm just doubling everything.
Yeah, you were closer. With the
48.
The guy that's close. 44 is the PAL tax on this one.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's a lot for Castlevania.
50% increase.
Yeah, I feel a little like I kind of want to throw up a little bit thinking about paying $44 for this game.
Yeah, that's too much. Way too much.
Yeah. So I said 12. You said 6. So we got to call this one worthless.
Unfortunately, I'd say the caveat is there is an awesome collection.
Yeah.
It's $20 usually. I got it on sale for $5. Mm-hmm. I don't know that will happen frequently, but I'd say add it to your wish list if you're interested and get that email when it goes on sale, or just drop $20 because there's a lot of games in here.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, man. 31, like for me, worthless. If you have nostalgia for it, I feel like if you can get a deal on it in the 20s, you're probably going to be doing well. If you don't know anything about Castlevania and you're like, should I play that? Should I pick it up? $31?
No, not at 31.
I don't think so. You'd have to be the kind of person who never played Castlevania and you're really hardcore about playing on original hardware. And it's like, I don't know. I can't recommend paying $31 for Castlevania.
Now, Dan, you didn't notice any input lag on the digital version, did you?
No, on the NES version, it played great on the Switch in portable mode. there was about a 2-second delay between my inputs.
2 seconds.
Now you keep throwing stones at me about the input lag, because I mentioned it again. Somebody was talking about Shining Force 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I made a joke about the input lag, and now you won't leave me alone about it. But it's specifically on the Sega Genesis collection on Switch.
I was just
That
asking.
is the only place that I have noticed input lag like that.
Dan, I would never mock you. I just wanted you to share your vast wealth of knowledge with the people.
I saw, now, Jordan, unrelated, but related, kind of, not really. I saw today in the Discord, you dropped a link about, and you liked the headline about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered coming out on Switch.
I liked that
surprisingly solid.
Yeah, they said it was surprisingly solid, which is just, an interesting collection of adjectives.
Yeah. Surprisingly solid, because it's the Nintendo Switch version.
They were
what
saying,
could that possibly mean, Jordan?
You didn't read the...
No, I didn't.
They were saying that it runs at a rock solid 30 frames per second.
30 goodness. All right.
Which is fine on the Switch.
Is it, though?
Dan,
well,
yes,
I guess... Okay.
It is. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Clarify why I'm laughing about that. Is because I think on PS4 and Xbox One, it runs at a significantly higher frame rate. And so part of why that is...
We're having an intervention here.
Part of why that's significant, Jordan, let me finish what I'm saying, is because when Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remastered came out, I was used to playing Tony Hawk HD on the PS3.
Okay.
And then after I played through the PS4 version, and then I tried to play Tony Hawk HD again, Tony Hawk HD was almost unplayable, and I think that game runs around 30 frames.
Almost
so that's
unplayable.
Why it literally was like, this game feels so bad to me after playing the new one. So that's why I'm harping on the performance on the Switch in this particular case.
The vast majority of people cannot tell the difference or do not care.
Should just play it on another platform.
You are in the minority. Same with the imperceptible amount of input lag that
it's not
may or may not exist on certain digital ports of
It's not
retro
imperceptible.
games.
You just have to adjust your brain to it.
This is okay. For a normal human being who doesn't play on a gaming monitor and all that stuff, we don't notice those things. We're just playing games for fun and having
Jordan, I'm telling you, it's just that collection. I didn't even have a problem with the Konami collection on it.
You just said that Tony Hawk 4 HD or whatever was unplayable because it was 30 frames per second.
After playing something that is a different game that's so much more polished and running at a higher frame rate. Then you go, oh man, this game doesn't look as... Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Listen,
it doesn't matter.
People spend billions of dollars every year to sit in a movie theater and watch a movie shot at 23.9 frames per second. And
that's different.
You're telling me that movies are unwatchable?
I'm not telling you movies are unwatchable, and it's not a visual thing. It's a feel. It's like the screen responds when I push the button feel thing.
I'm out.
And at a certain... your brain doesn't notice it at a certain gap. I think it's like below 15 milliseconds or something. It's imperceptible, but above that, it starts to become more noticeable when
15 milliseconds. So you mean 30 frames per second?
It doesn't matter.
I have no idea. You're making me do math. This is the thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
We spent half of our lives playing games that were not at 60 frames per second. More than half of our lives. So.
Whatever,
we'll
man.
be okay. We'll
Whatever.
survive. Anyway,
all right,
Castlevania.
I killed your trivia. I put a wooden stake through its heart,
right through
garlic in its mouth.
Yep, silver bullet right through that werewolf.
So we got bounty. We got a bounty. We don't have a bounty. We don't have a bounty winner for Sega Genesis. We're still recording this episode in the throes of Sega Genesis, but we don't have anything really cute. So as you came over today, it was like, what's July? Do we have anything cute? No. Let's do it.
You want a pun?
Well, normally I try to theme these things.
Yeah.
And I was just coming up short.
Yeah.
And so we played, it was like, what's the next game? We don't know. We haven't decided yet. Oh, let's Konami? Is Konami a thing?
Konami is a thing.
And it's July.
A great theme for a month.
It's July. So we decided we're going to do Jalami.
Jalami it is. You heard it here.
The point being, we don't have anything. We didn't have I don't know. We're giving away an eShop, $20 eShop North American code.
Which, appropriately, is the amount of eShop money that you would need to buy either the Contra or Castlevania collection.
Jalami
so that's a great
collection.
That's a great gift.
Yeah. So you just have to let us know what your favorite Konami game is.
What is your favorite Konami game? You're going to send us a direct message on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also direct message Dan or I on Discord. Or you can send us an email at
worthitorworthlesspodcast@gmail.com.
You can find our social media at WIOW Podcast. All you have to do is send us a direct message, an email, or a message on Discord and let us know what is your favorite Konami game, and you will be entered into the bounty hunt for the month.
Yeah.
And if you want to earn additional bounty entries, as always, you can jump in our Discord server and participate in the conversation. Don't forget, those bonus entries you earn on Discord do not count unless you send us an actual direct message entry so we can make sure that we're giving the prize to somebody who wants it.
Yep.
So if you want to enter, that's all you got to do. And you could get yourself $20 in, what did we say? eShop? eShop code. And
Switch, North American.
For the Switch,
Rules,
which is the greatest system.
In the description thing. Rules.
Surprisingly solid system.
Yes.
$20. You don't have to spend it on Konami games, but you could if you wanted to.
Yeah. Next game, Jordan.
Next game.
Super C.
Yeah, going back to Contra.
Yeah, so.
This is a game I've never played or even seen before.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this game for a while.
Really?
I was like, when am I going to slot Super C into the show? Because it's like I can't remember. It's probably like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago at this point, where I was like, I just sat down and played some Super C for whatever reason it was, and I was like, I want to cover this on the show. But we try to space things out. We try not to stack too many consoles or franchises like too close to each other.
Yeah.
So it was like, when is the right time to do Contra? And so now is the right time in Jalami.
It feels right. It's July. I'm eating some salami. Let's play some Konami games.
Nothing says retro gaming like salami and Konami.
Yeah, we were coming up with the bounty prize, and we're like, should we give everybody $20 on the eShop or just a real big summer sausage? It was going to be one of those two. We went with the eShop code.
Right. Oh, man. All right, Jordan, do we have anything else before we derail this train any further?
I think that's going to do it for me.
All right. For our music segment today, Jordan, we got Castlevania music.
Oh, that's very appropriate.
Yeah,
and you got a lot of great ones to choose from.
Yeah, it's a Castlevania track called Hunter by Megaflare. And it's just a nice little Castlevania cover.
I'm excited.
It's like a chiptune, like not quite remix, kind of remix thing. So
sounds great.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoy it.
And we will see you guys next time.
All right. Have a great week.
Have a great Jalami.
Bye.
Bye.